Why is it that every single sporting event, football, baseball, basketball, they have an offseason, but for some reason professional wrestling just doesn't? Every single sport has a built-in recovery time. The players, they get to rest if they're tired and beat up bodies. The teams, they get a chance to rebuild. The fans miss it, and it builds that anticipation for it to come back next year. But in pro wrestling, it's a 52-week grind a year, 365 days year-round, no breaks. Do you think pro wrestling should get an off season? Would it make the product feel better and just make things feel more fresh? Would it actually save the wrestlers' bodies and reduce injuries? Or could it hurt what makes pro wrestling so unique? Let's talk about it. Section 1, the grind of wrestling. Now, let's start with the obvious. Pro wrestling, it never stops. We start with Monday Night Raw. On Tuesdays, NXT. Wednesdays, Dynamite. SmackDown on Friday. We got pay-per-views and PLEs on the weekends. That's just the TV schedule. You have endless traveling, international tours, appearances, signings. When do these wrestlers actually get a break to breathe?
No.
So I got a question for you. How sustainable is that? How really? The NFL, they get at least 6 months off. The NBA, they get at least 3 months off. Wrestlers, they have a history of wrestling through injuries. Depending on how severe it is, it's almost seen as a badge of honor to just finish the match, no matter what.
Thank you for that perspective.
Now, is that good for business? Or are we just shortening careers just to keep the wheel turning? So this is section 2, history of the 24/7 schedule. Now, why doesn't pro wrestling stop? I think it's between part history and part business. In the territory days, shows ran all year. Even when Vince McMahon made the WWE International, it was normal for wrestlers to wrestle up to 300 days a year. That was actually the standard in them days. And now with ESPN, USA, Fox, even Warner Discovery in the picture, wrestling is TV content first, sports second. The giant networks, they demand weekly programming. So here's a quick thought. Are we actually watching wrestling? Or are we just watching content that's disguised as wrestling?
Oh my God!
So if TV contracts is what's keeping the machine running, does that mean wrestling is trapped in a system that would never allow an off-season? Section 3, the benefits of an off-season. What would an off-season even look like? For the wrestlers, it'll definitely be less wear and tear on their bodies. It would give them more time to heal and prolong their careers. Think about all the wrestlers that we lost early. The list is way too long. Do you think it was because of the constant grind? Career-ending injuries that just came far too soon? As far as creative, to tell you the truth, WWE, AEW, they burn through storylines so fast because there's no break. What if instead of fluff and filler to fill time, we had a true seasonal structure? It would give the storylines a chance to breathe, a chance to develop, a chance for it to flow week to week. That way, the payoffs will feel more fulfilling and more satisfying. Now, I personally think WrestleMania should be the end of the season. Instead, it feels like just another stop on the calendar. You know the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder. If the fans had to wait 3 months for wrestling to come back, wouldn't the hype be more crazy? So I got a few questions for you. Just feel free to comment below. Would you rather have wrestling non-stop, even if it's watered down and redundant? Or would you be willing to take a few months off if it meant better quality, healthier wrestlers, and bigger anticipation for a fresh start?
Yup!
Now, an offseason may have some downsides to it. TV networks, they don't want breaks. Now, Raw brings in millions every Monday. TNT, they want Dynamite every week. How would you go about explaining to them, sorry, but no content for 3 months? The wrestlers, they have guaranteed contracts now. They also make more by appearing on TV, and they get a cut of the merch sales while they're on the road. An offseason could cut into their pay. Someone gets over in May, but then the season ends in June. Would they lose all of their heat? Would they lose their momentum? Also, you got to consider the global market. Wrestling is big in the US, but even bigger globally. If WWE were to take 3 months off, what's stopping AEW or what's stopping New Japan or TNA from filling that gap?
No. Well...
Now, allow me to give you a few more questions. Would an offseason protect the stars, or would it cost them their spots? Will fans come back even more stronger, or will they just move on to something else? Section 5. Now, could wrestling do a rotational offseason? What if the solution isn't a total shutdown, but more of a rotation? These wrestling companies these days have massive rosters. What if half the roster worked for 6 months and then rotate it out for the other half of the roster. It would keep the show running while giving the other wrestlers more time to heal. That way the fans, they wouldn't lose wrestling, but they get a fresh talent cycle, new faces, and well-rested superstars. Would you accept missing your favorite wrestler for months if it meant that they came back healthier and ready for that big push? Section 6, what the fans actually want. Now, us as fans, we can be a little gritty, I'll admit it myself. Now, if you love this as much as I do, the way that I do, you want wrestling all the time. Not just wrestling in itself, not just any wrestling, but wrestling that's compelling, with intriguing stories, and that grabs you emotionally. Today, there's just way too much content out there, but we complain, but then we still watching it. We complain about burnout, but the crowd, they'll never stop chanting. Could fans actually handle an off season? Or do we just like the idea of one? If fans really wanted it, wouldn't they just turn it off during the slower months? But instead, we keep watching. And that's the power of what we call, and as we know, as the machine. Because we're used to it. Section 7, the future of wrestling schedule. So what's the answer? Should we have a wrestling off season? Maybe not in a traditional sense. Since the TKO era, it's gotten a little bit better, but we still have ways to go. Wrestlers simply cannot keep grinding at this pace. Maybe the solution is a smarter rotation. Maybe it's shorter seasons of TV. Maybe it's mandatory time off built into the wrestlers' contracts. So here's the truth. If wrestling doesn't find a balance, the cost will be too high. More careers cut short, more burnout, more tragedy, and fewer stars that we can actually see reach their true potential. So in conclusion, should wrestlers have an off season? On one hand, it can save the wrestlers' bodies, it can give fans better storylines, better moments, and a bigger feel. On the other hand, it can hurt business, it can kill momentum, and leave just too many gaps. Maybe the real answer is a balance. Maybe wrestling doesn't need a full off season, but more of a timeout. Time to breathe, time to rest, time to heal.
I like that.
Because at the end of the day, wrestling is supposed to be about moments, but if the machine never stops, how many moments are we losing due to exhaustion and injury? Now I'm gonna leave you with this question, guys. Would you sacrifice every single week if it meant healthier superstars, better stories, and longer legacies? Or do we just want more, no matter the cost?
Dynamic